Today is the final day of the ANC's 6th Policy Conference. Members of the African National Congress and delegates at the conference have discussed and made recommendations on issues related to the country's transition from coal to clean energy sources, the future of state-owned enterprises and unemployment. SABC News reporter Natasha Phiri joins us now live from the ANC Policy Conference in Nasrec. Natasha, a very good morning to you. Great to have you on the program. Natasha, today is the final day of the conference. What can we expect?
Well, very good morning to you, Mkolis, and of course to our agenda views. Indeed, it is the final and the last day of the National Policy Conference that was underway here in Nasrec in the south of Johannesburg. And we expect the various subcommittee chairs, the outstanding subcommittee chairs, those on organizational renewal, corruption and state capture, to actually brief members of the media to give a feedback, as well as their rapporteurs. And of course, that highly expected and anticipated closing address by ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa. It has been a weekend of, battle of ideas, the discussions around a number of issues. There are a number of the ANC's policy discussion documents, from the economy, from social transformation, organizational renewal, the battle of ideas, the balance of forces, and so many more. But I'm actually joined here by the Deputy Chair of the ANC in Gauteng, Nomantu Raloho. And of course, we'll just be engaging on a number of issues, and just one of those issues earlier on yesterday we saw there the subcommittee chairperson Lindiwe Sisulu briefing members of the media, saying that the issue of chemical castration came up once again. You would know, Mkolisi, that in 2017 this very issue was raised by the Women's League and it was shot down, saying that it was somewhat brutal, but now it has been raised again. This also comes on the backdrop of that gruesome story that came out where several young ladies were raped, and of course we know that the various perpetrators were arrested, and of course we wait for law enforcement agencies just to deal with the matter. Menoman, thank you so much for joining us on SABC News. I mean, this issue of chemical castration has come up yet again. It was a proposal that was shot down. We know that the ANC Women's League had actually proposed it. Some have called it populist. What's your reaction to this?
For me, it's not populist. It's something that all of us, including our organization, which is the African National Congress, must understand that this is serious. It's happening in our country and it's happening now in our province. So we need to defend it. And I think it's high time that out of this conference, that's one of those critical issues that we must deal with them. It must be in the recommendations of the African National Congress. If you want to renew the ANC, don't leave out other things that are affecting our own, especially our young children, the girl child, which is very critical and it's important. My worry was that if we are not pushing for this, in 2 days' time we'll be in August, which is the Women's Month. And you remember, Natasha, always in Women's Month, there are these incidents that are horrifying, that are terrible, that are happening to our women and to our children. And the ANC must be seen moving to that direction of protecting them. And in the ANC, you don't just protect, but you write it down, but you implement the decisions that you take in the conference whilst you take those resolutions. Hence, I believe that this is uncalled for. If comrades today, when we raise that issue, they can shut it down again, I will know that there's something wrong with all of us that are sitting in that room.
What say you to civil society organizations that say that this tramples on the rights of human beings and, those sexual offenders?
Part of the issues that we've been raising sharply, even in the commissions, is for us now to revive our community organizations, especially the NGOs, and those organizations that have been always serious about defending the rights of women. We will need to regroup and work with those organizations, led, by the way, by the African National Congress Women's League, which is our champion on the issues of women. But again, I always say, let's not leave issues of women to the Women's League alone. It's all of us that must ensure that these things are not happening, and the Women's League having a backup of the African National Congress.
Deputy Chair, the issue of gender equality, let's just be honest about it, it's open and transparent. Do you think that the ANC has actually made gains in terms of gender equality? Listen, in terms of the Limpopo leadership, the provincial leadership, 2 women are in the composition of that leadership. You yourself, 3 women are in the composition of the leadership in Gauteng. It's yourself, it's Ms. Tasneem Motara and Morakane Musiupe. But in terms of other provinces, I mean, KZN, you have only 1 woman in the leadership, the top 5 of the province. What does this speak to?
You are right. It's very difficult for other provinces to do this. Even ourselves, you remember the way that we celebrated, because we said, let's take a chance, let's push a number of women in the top 5 so that we are able to get women. Because at some stage it was like we're going to get 1 woman again. And that's when we regroup as women and say, we are not going to accept any list that comes and lobby us for 1 woman in the top 5 of the ANC. We need to have at least all these lobby groups, we must tell them that bring more women in your list so that we're able to get women. And indeed, we managed to achieve that as Gauteng. And it's the only province that has done that in the history of the African National Congress, to have 3 women in the top 5. And we need to encourage other women now to stand, because when you are standing for those positions, there are so many things that are happening to you. You will receive calls, definitely. You will be told that you don't have factional discipline. They will call you names, but you need to make sure that you push and ensure that what they do, you do it. Because you must beat them in their own game again. Because you have to learn what those men are doing to be in those positions in the top 5. It's how do you make sure that other women are strong enough to push and work for that. Even this 50-50 gender parity that is going to come, my worry is that as women, we'll say we want 3 women and 3 men in the top 6, but unfortunately, if we're not strong enough and united as Women's League with other organizations that support the interest of women, then we rope in the ANC at the end, because once we start planning with them that this is what we want, they're going to discourage those women. They will make sure that they don't go and stand for those positions, because there is these lobby groups that they will tell you that you are not disciplined, this is toward the factional discipline, this is what we have given you, and they will even go to the delegates that are going to the conference and tell them that this is the woman that you want you to support, or don't support this woman.
And the worry is that women within the ANC don't support each other themselves.
You are right, they don't support us, but after the conference, that's when they realize that if we should have supported them, we wouldn't be where we are. Hence, we are reversing our gains when it comes to women's issues. It's because we always don't have a number of women in the decision-making processes. But if we have a number of women in the decision-making processes, it's easier for us to make sure that we deal with, correct the situation. Let's make an example by me today. I'm standing here as a Deputy Provincial Chair of the ANC. Do you think that if I was not, I would be here doing an interview? No. It will be a male comrade that is standing here representing us, even talking about issues of women, because they don't even get shy to do that. Good thing, at least now we have a chairperson in the province. Anyway, even David was like that. He used to respect women in these positions because I've worked with him. But even this one, he knows that when it comes to issues of women, I am there, Tasneem is there, Murakane is there. He will always field us to say the views about women, because he is a man. He doesn't know these issues that you are talking about of women that sleep without bread on the table, because he doesn't care. A man will never care about that. They only care about what needs to be done, the debates that are happening. You see them. That house is full of men in the house that are debating about women's issues. But now, hell no, let's not accept that.
Deputy Chair, you raised the issue of the elective conference. We are months away from that. The composition of the top 6. I mean, I don't know if it's a phenomenon within the ANC, but you always have women being elected into the position of the Deputy Secretary General. She deputizes the engine of the organization. Yes, that is a crucial role. But I mean, why can't women occupy positions of, the chairperson, other positions, even the president himself?
Trust me, we've been trying, and we were saying at least it's fine, let's get there. For now, we're even not having any woman that is deputizing. So we want to say, let's fill them for deputy, let's fill them for the president itself, even other portfolios, the national chair, the treasurer general, so that we can see how it takes us. We will be contested, definitely. And we must encourage them that you must be stronger, because you know the trauma that you go through as a woman if you are contesting for those positions. I've been there, I know. For the next 3 months, you will be working so hard in ensuring that at least your voice is heard, even by the region, so that they can take you serious. Now, if it's a national one, you must make sure that you are able to have a voice that is held for women in the provinces.
I love the fact that you also talk about your personal experiences in contesting. I mean, just tell us how difficult it was as women. I mean, we covered the Gauteng conference very extensively. Other factions, when you were vying for the position of deputy chair, had called you a number of names. Others had said that you rigged the results. It was just a plethora of things. Just tell us about your own personal experiences for those who don't know.
It was so interesting for me when they said that I'm a thug. A man saying a woman is a thug, I just said, yeah, whoa, this is heavy, but at least it shows that I've done something that these men never thought that I'm going to do. I never rigged any results, but one thing I was very firm. I told myself that no one is going to threaten me, because it's unlike I didn't receive some calls, so will have a cup of coffee, and I will say to them, I don't need any cup of coffee. If you are calling me to discuss that I must not stand, please don't call me, because I'm not going to agree. So I had to develop the thick skin of accepting those things, but it was very traumatic, I have to be honest. I am a woman, Natasha. Sometimes I become fragile, like any other person. So there were those times, but I used to tell myself that I am not going to back off because of these allegations. I'd rather go to the ANC DC, and then they must deal with me there, because I didn't do anything, but I had all the documents in place. What I did, I have to be honest with you, I set up systems in the office. When I was the acting secretary, that's the time I had enough time to focus in building the ANC. So within that 1 month that Jacob Kawa was not in the office, that was my time to show my strength, that I have been working behind Jacob, running the organization. Now it's my time to take over. But because I was there now, they had to label me so that I can back off. I knew that it's a strategy of men, of persecuting me, raising things that I have not done. Call me Imama, which now I like that name, by the way.
Deputy Chair, let's also talk about the elephant in the room, the step-aside resolution. I know that this has been a contentious one. There's so many ideas, a battle of ideas around this resolution of the ANC. We were told by delegates in the morning that there are two dominating views: those who are calling for the retention of the step-aside resolution, those who are calling for it to be reviewed, to be scrapped. We are told that various provinces like Gauteng, KZN, Limpopo, the Northern Cape have been given until this Friday to submit modalities on the step-aside resolution and come back. And of course, branches will further deliberate on this issue. We've been hearing different voices from Gauteng. What is the position of Gauteng in regards to this resolution?
I want to stamp that authority now and tell you our position in Gauteng. We had a resolution under building unity and democracy, and we agreed that in that resolution, we said on the 14th, in our 14th provincial conference, under organizational renewal resolutions, we are saying integrity, ethics, and step aside will be discussed there. And the last part of those, when you read them, we were saying it's point 1.1.13. We said we need to ensure implementation of the institutional accountability processes and consequence management to deal with corruption. And we said we need to strengthen the step-aside resolution to protect the integrity and management of the ANC. At no stage that we said step-aside must be scrapped. These are the resolutions that I am going to send them to you. That comes from the issues that we tease them out up until at the end, which is the last part that we said it will remain. Because in the ANC, you can't speak about revolutionary morality. You can't speak about ethics, and at the end you say no ways. Even if you have done this, you are not going to be punished. This talks to consequence management in the organization.
Which is much needed.
Which is much needed, and that is why all those that says we have not said that, they are correct. We have never said that. That's why I'm going to give you a document as a provincial deputy chairperson now, which I know chair knows and all the entire PEC knows. I don't know those that were talking there, but we didn't want to be, because sometimes we can be rebel, but we didn't want to do that and defy what they were saying. We said we will leave that, but we are going to correct it. And we are correcting it. We want everyone in the country to know that in Gauteng, we are supporting the step aside. And we will never change, because it's our baby, by the way. It's coming from this province issue of a step aside. Thank you.
Are you aware of some quarters within the PEC of Gauteng that are saying that the step-aside resolution is actually dividing the ANC further, and it's not fair, actually, on some other members? It must be implemented fairly. I hear that what you're saying, that step-aside must be implemented without fail as Gauteng, but you have other members of the Gauteng PEC that are saying another thing.
Natasha, I don't care. I don't even want to know who are those members, because this is not what the organization is saying, and we're not going to entertain that. They can say it and jump to the mic if they want to and say something contrary, but the ANC in the Gauteng remains firm on the step-aside resolution.
Yesterday, just lastly, before we cross back to studio, Kgalema Motlanthe had said that the ANC constitution has sufficient measures to deal with these members outside of the step-aside resolution. What do you make of this loaded statement?
That is correct. That's what we should be doing as a disciplined organization of the ANC. As disciplined cadres, when there is a conference, we are not here to represent ourselves. We're not representing our jackets. So that's why anyone that does something that is contrary to the organization must be taken to the disciplinary committee, which we have.
Thank you so much, Mam Nomantu Nkomoralo. Of course, she is the deputy chair of the ANC here in Gauteng. Interesting conversations, not only around the policy discussion documents of social transformation, but of course the contentious issue of the step-aside resolution. Like I've actually mentioned earlier on Kolisi, a number of our sources inside just telling us that on this very particular issue, various provinces like Gauteng, KZN, Limpopo, and the Northern Cape were given until Friday to submit their modalities in regards to this resolution, and of course these will also be handed back to the branches. We expect that these subcommittees will actually finish the work here, all this work here, at the end of August, and of course these policies will then be tabled there in Nasrec later on this year, where they will be passed as resolutions. Of course, we are still here in Nasrec giving you blow-by-blow coverage of the last and final day of the 6th National Policy Conference of the ANC here in Nasrec in Johannesburg. With that said, it's back to you in studio.
Natasha, now before we let you go, do we know what time ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa will be giving their closing address?
Well, he's supposed to actually close the conference at 1 o'clock, but remember, this various policy discussion documents around organizational renewal, strategy and tactics still need to sit and be discussed. So that is actually currently happening behind closed doors. Further than that, the subcommittee chairs and rapporteurs will then come back to members of the media, brief us about it, and then once that all is done, the president will then address members of the media. We're not so sure if he'll actually make the 1 o'clock deadline, but it seems as if maybe by 3 o'clock everything will be finalized. But do stay tuned to SABC News on channel 404, and of course our social media platforms, not forgetting our radio platforms for all the latest.
Natasha Phiri, thanks very much indeed for that update. No doubt we'll be touching base with you a bit later on in the bulletin.